Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Michel, for the presentation. So, first slide, yeah. I just would like to begin by recalling the geographical situation of the site of Palmyra on the Silk Road, when, let's say, one of the Silk Roads of ancient Near East. Palmyra existed thanks to an oasis and a spring called EPFL that brings water in the middle of this so-called desert. It was really one of the most important archaeological sites of ancient Syria and a real multicultural spot in antiquity because of the situation on this Silk Road. This is how the beautiful site of Palmyra looks like before the destruction of 2015. And I will tonight focus myself on the Baalshamin temple, just to give you some of the characteristics. So it was said the name Baalshamin means the god of the skies. So he was the god worshipped in Palmyra to bring rain and water from the sky in order agriculture to be possible. It is a sanctuary that has a very long history and an evolution that we can follow from the late Hellenistic period, which is end of 2nd century BC, to the Islamic period, which is 8th, 9th century AD. So we can follow the history of the architecture and the development of this sanctuary for more than 1,000 years. It was therefore the second most important temple in Palmyra, and it was excavated by a Swiss archaeologist, Paul Collart, former professor at the University of Lausanne, where I work today. After his death, he decided to give the archive to the University of Lausanne, and as you know, this temple, along with other monuments of ancient Palmyra, has been totally destroyed, blown up by ISIS. So here you see who was Paul Collart, but the best point is to try and understand what he left us by giving his archive to the university. He gave us thousands of black and white pictures and documents like plans, notebooks, and drawings. The quality of this archive is so amazing, the accuracy of the documentation is so great that we were able to work on the reconstruction of the temple. But in order to do so, we first had to digitize all the documentation to publish it in online databases. So after the destruction, the first duty of the university was to give access to everyone to those documents. So we digitized more than 5,000 documents, thanks to someone also here tonight, Amélie, that is with me tonight here in Zurich. And we created basically two different databases. The first one in French, where you can download whatever you want. You can download the plans, you can download the notebooks, and you can download all the pictures. So this was very important for us to give access to the documentation, to give access to the document for the people willing to work on this memory, but also to keep working on this heritage. And then we have a very specific database called Object ID Palmyra database, which is an inventory that follows the Object ID International Standard from ICOM. And this is a database that is used to help fighting illicit trafficking of cultural goods. So we were able to identify more than 400 artifacts that have been excavated by the Swiss archaeologists in the 50s of last century. So this is the Temple of Baalshamin, how it was. You have the black and white picture from Paul Collart and then a picture of mine. And this is the Temple of Baalshamin after the destruction. I never showed the process of destroying the temple that you can see producing by Daesh, and you can find it on internet. I don't want to be part of this propaganda, but I'm allow myself to show you how the temple looks like today. So based on the accuracy of the documentation, thanks to the amount of the document that we have, and thanks to many collaboration, particularly with Iconem, the startup Iconem in Paris, we were able to reconstruct like a digital double of the temple. Here you have a picture of the process of producing that kind of model by merging together hundreds of black and white pictures from Paul Collart in order to recreate this temple. But let me show you in more details now how it works. When we found all the documents of Paul Collart in the archive, we first found the 2D drawings and plan. So the first step was to compare the 2D plans with the pictures. You see in the middle of the screen, for example, a door, and you see the drawing of this door in 2D on the drawing plate. So then, exactly like small children, we created like Lego pieces to create a 3D model from the 2D. And then we had to place all the 2D blocks, the 3D blocks created on the plan linked to the 3D model of the temple. So this is the process of creation of this, and this is the result. So we created like virtual anastylosis reconstruction of the temple, and this was possible thanks to the amazing accuracy and amount of documents and the way we were working on it in order to interpret the documentation in order to create the model. But I wanted in this project to go further. You see here a picture taken from the 3D model, but just as if you were looking at the very monument. And you can guess that in the middle of the second column, you have a Greek inscription. We were not able in the project to reproduce the Greek inscription on the model, but we had the possibility to add metadata on the model. So when you open the interface to access the 3D model on the university website, you can click on some elements, and then you have a window that opens like pop-up window, and then you can see the actual picture telling you the content of the inscription. And then you can also access to the translation of the very inscription. This is very important to give access to the whole archive that we used that is now geolocalized on the model. So if you need to check a document, you don't have to physically now come to my university, even if you are really welcome to do so, but you can access to the whole archive thanks to the database online. Another model, another way of visualization that we created is a chronological way of viewing the models. As I said, we don't only have one model of the temple, but we have tried to create a chronological evolution to show you all the civilization and all the identities from the late Hellenistic period to the Islamic period. So here you have a timeline, and you can click on the dot on the timeline and access to the model you wish. So we have up to 5 different models that tell the whole history of the sanctuary and that keeps the very memory, let's say the memories of the monument. So working on memories, we have here what was shown in the deepfake show in Lausanne. Another kind of reconstruction. You have a photogrammetry of the whole site where you see the destruction, and then, like a miracle, you see the temple appearing in the middle of destruction. So it's an overlap of 2 different phases in the history of the monument. When it was destroyed and when it was rebuilt. But if you notice, it is here rebuilt in transparency, like using block of glass. Why doing so? Because as terrible as the destruction is, it is now part of the history of the site. And we didn't want to erase the destruction in the history of the site by rebuilding something that will cover the destruction. So using the transparency in one of the reconstruction gives the possibility to people to never forget what happened before. what is the meaning of doing or leading such a project if we cannot reach local communities and work with local people? As half Lebanese myself, it was very important to find a way to reach Syrian refugees around the world, and especially moving Syrian inside Syria and Syrian refugees in northern Jordan in Azraq. This is the reason why we created the booklet that you have here on the screen, an Arabic booklet that tells the history of Palmyra, showing the place of Palmyra on the Silk Road, insisting of this identity, on this multicultural identity of the site. And this is something that we shared with the project dealing with the past of UNDP Syria, so with the UN, and dealing with the past is a project developed by and with UNDP in order to work towards resilience. So this is some activities and workshops we created with them in Syria. And then we had two different kind of workshops with the day after in the Idlib area and with InZone. And I'm very happy to have a representative tonight of InZone that you will hear during the roundtable. We worked a lot with people in Azraq, and you will be able later tonight to hear people from the Syrian refugees in Azraq telling you more about the experience they had. Last but not least, we asked a sociologist that is with us today, Jenny Maggie as well, to conduct a sociological study to ask the Syrian community outside of Syria how they feel about our work, how they feel, what are the needs linked to 3D modeling. Basically, one of the activities that we did outside 3D modeling and VR experiences is by recalling the history of Palmyra on the Silk Road. I discovered a very interesting German study that tells you a beautiful story I would like to share with you. You have here a piece of fabric, a piece of textile that was found in the tube of Palmyra, and as there the climate is very dry, we found a huge amount of textile pieces. When a motif, a design was very fashioned on the cloth, it was reused for the decoration of the temple. So this is a process that you can really follow historically from fashion to architecture. So basically what we did is that we took an archaeological piece, which is a decoration of the destroyed and lost Baalshamin temple, and based on this we created a pattern for embroidery. By doing so, we gave the possibility for Syrian refugees, after learning the history of Palmyra on the Silk Road, not only to listen to someone like you are listening to me now, but to perform the cultural memory in an artifact that you will keep with you that tells you and materialize the history of Palmyra. And we had a huge success with these activities because it was a way to mix together tangible and intangible heritage and to give a possibility for people once more to perform cultural memory in an artifact that you will keep with you. So I have to thank all the partners and the founders of this project and the Aleph Foundation that is with us tonight as well, and the partners working with us in Jordan, as I said, InZone and the Ulm University of Milano. And I let you now with a very small gift. If you want to scan the QR code on the screen, you will be able to keep with you the 3D model of the Baalshamin on your phone, and this is a gift that the project makes to you in order to keep the memory of the monument. Thank you very much.